Welcome to the Beginner Photography Podcast. This week, we're talking about the different photography business models you can use and how to choose the right one for you. So let's get into it.
Welcome to the Beginner Photography Podcast with Raymond Hatfield, the podcast dedicated to helping you grow your photography skills. Raymond interviews the world's top photographers in their field to ask questions that will get you taking better photos today. Now, with you as always, husband, father, home brewer, LA Dodger fan, and Indianapolis wedding photographer, Raymond Hatfield.
Welcome back to this week's episode of the Beginner Photography Podcast. As always, I am your host and Indianapolis wedding photographer, Raymond Hatfield, and I'm so excited to be here today. Today we have an episode that is something that we cover a question that I get asked a lot. A lot of questions from photographers are about business, and I think that that's kind of interesting that we're just getting started in this world of photography, and pretty quickly you can become competent enough with a camera that you can start charging for your work, because people now really understand the value of photography and what it can do for them with sites, like even Instagram. Some people say that by seeing so many photos every single day, we kind of get numb to photography. And, others say that it's the other way around. With the more photos that we see, the more creative ideas that we get, and the more we actually value photography. And I think I'm in that latter camp. The more photos that I see, the less numb I come to them, or the less numb I become of them, and the more they fuel me inside. The more photos I see, I get so excited to go out and try new things and capture the world just a little bit differently than I did before, in a way that can hopefully better tell my story, right? Through the way that I see things, and that to me is exciting. But we still have to worry about the business side of things if we do want to make money. And maybe you've noticed that this month we have been talking a lot about pricing and clients, and just overall business stuff this month, from my episode Success Without Social Media to my episode with Vinny Puglisi, The Only Marketing Strategy You'll Ever Need, which you should check that one out. That one was fantastic, and there was a lot of great takeaways. And then also my interview with Gavin Wade about creating an amazing client experience. Now, creating an amazing client experience, again, is something that might not apply to all of the landscape photographers or the nature photographers out there listening. But if you want to make money with your camera, typically people start with, portraits or family photos. And delivering that amazing client experience is really what is going to put you over the edge, as far as getting future referrals and just really standing out. So this whole month has really been about business and making money, and all of these things are important to think about if you want to make money with your camera. So today we are going to talk about models. Not those kind of models, but business models. Business models are very important to how your business is ran. Business is an area that many of us in photography would rather go without. We would rather focus on the camera and creating incredible images rather than the business. But if you want to have success and grow to the point of replacing, a full-time income with your camera, there's really no way around it. And you need to be smart and spend some time thinking and planning like a business. And this all starts with your business model. So let's start from the beginning. What is a business model? So a business model is defined by a conceptual structure that supports the viability of a product or company and explains how the company operates, makes money, and how it intends to achieve its goals. So, your business model kind of predicates how your business operates. So think about it this way. With fast food restaurants, with fast food and high-end restaurants, that take 6 months to get a reservation, they both sell food, but they operate entirely different business models. A fast food restaurant really wants to get in as many customers as possible and get them in, served, and out as fast as possible to bring in more customers. Whereas, one of those high-end restaurants that, you need reservations for, they focus more on the quality of food and the quality of the product and the experience rather than, minimizing the amount of time that you have to spend with a client or with a customer. Now, photography has different business models too. There's the kiosk at the mall that will take a family photo and sell, that will leave you with a bunch of prints in under 30 minutes for, $49. And that is way different than the family photographer who's charging $4,900 and will personally come to your home and hang your brand new 40-inch by 60-inch metal print above the fireplace. See what I'm saying here? Same, product essentially, food or photos, but the business model predicates how the business is ran, and it can be two entirely different things. And that is super, super, super exciting if you are a photographer, because it means that you have options. So let's go ahead and talk about photography. When it comes to photography, there are, I think, like 5, different business models depending on what you are shooting. But we're going to cover the main 2, like the complete polar opposites of each other, just to really make it black and white, how you can deliver the same thing, but in an entirely different way that will make your business seem completely different. So there are, the 2 business models that we're going to talk about today are shoot and burn and boutique. So with shoot and burn is more of the fast food style of photography businesses, where you have a high volume at a very low price. Maybe you're shooting 20 weddings at $500 a year. Now that's not bad. That's not a bad side gig. If you already have like a full-time job and you just love photography and you want to get out, shoot more and make a little extra money and pay for your gear, but still bring in some extra money into, your household, that ain't bad at all. If I could get an extra $500 every weekend, I would be pretty excited about that. And all the free cake that you can eat. That is not too bad. But what you're doing as a shoot and burn photographer is you are essentially selling your time. You're trading your time for dollars. And this may seem like, well, yeah, of course that's what I'm doing. Because if you work a, traditional 9-to-5, W-2 job, then that is what you're used to. The time that you spent at work, you get paid dollars for. Now, when it comes to business, trying to figure out a way around that so that you don't have to trade your time for dollars is really important for the growth of your business, because there could be times where, what if you break an arm? You have 2 weddings, or you have even if you just have 2 weddings lined up for the next 2 weekends, what are you going to do with your arm like in a sling? You got to make it work, So in that sense, you're out of time because your arm is broken, which means that you can't trade that time anymore for dollars. So figuring out how you can be doing less and making more is the ultimate goal in any business whatsoever. So let's go ahead and look at the polar opposite of shoot and burn. The exact opposite of shoot and burn, I would consider like a high-end boutique photographer. Now this means very low volume at very high prices. If you are just to shoot 10 weddings a year at $5,000, that opens up the door to potential full-time income. 20 weddings a year at $500, you're not going to be quitting your job. But 10 weddings a year at $5,000, now you have more time to be able to take more weddings or do whatever else it is that you want, right? Now, the main difference here is that instead of trading your time or selling your time for dollars, what you're doing is you're selling your art and your vision. And therefore, we all have time, right? We all have more time than we think that we have. But right now, each and every one of us listening has time. And we can sell that time, right? And therefore, if you're selling your time for dollars, anybody can come in and charge less money for their time. And now, you're potentially out of a gig if that's your business model. But as a boutique, if you're selling your art and your vision, you don't have any competition, because your art and your vision is entirely different than the other 7 billion people on Earth. Now, it may be similar to somebody else, but at its core, your vision is different than everybody else, and nobody can compete with that. So again, if somebody's willing to sell their time for less dollars, though, as a shoot and burn photographer, you could easily lose out on a job. So let's talk about what these two polarizing business models look like. So if you shoot weddings for shoot and burn, what that looks like is you shoot all day, or for a predetermined amount of time, but typically, since you're already trading your time for dollars, you try to maximize what it is that you give so that a client thinks less about the time for dollars. So you just go ahead and you shoot all day. You get home and you dump the images usually onto a computer. You pick out the ones that are out of focus or just bad compositions or duplicates. You put the rest on a thumb drive or a DVD, whatever, or online client delivery service, and then you deliver those photos. And that's it. That is the end of the transaction. Now, if you are a boutique wedding photographer, you work with the couple for the entire year leading up to their wedding, helping them in every way, shape, and form. You help them plan a timeline around when to get the best photos, right? You know when the best light is outside. So you can help them with their timeline, which is arguably one of the most stressful aspects of planning a wedding, is creating that timeline. So you can help them with that. You alleviate some of that stress, and by doing so, you're ensuring that they're going to get the best possible product, right? And then after the wedding, you deliver an amazing experience by inviting them into your home or to an office or whatever to view their photos for the first time together. You share champagne, and then you send them a happy anniversary card because you know their wedding date. You know what their anniversary is. You also include tickets to a local show and dinner on you. Why would you do that? Why would you do that if they already got married? They're not going to give you any more money. It's because you're delivering an incredible experience. And just because you already got married doesn't mean that they're not going to know anybody, or just because they got married rather, doesn't mean that they're not going to know anybody else who, doesn't mean that they won't ever know any other couples who won't get married. Was that a quadruple negative there? I'm going to have to go back and listen to this. My point is, you continue to take care and think of your clients after the fact, because that's what you do as a high-end service. We, right now, have a realtor who we bought our house from. We bought our house almost 2 years ago that we're currently living in. Jeez, 2 years ago. So we bought the house, right? She got her commission. When you buy a house, it's like a wedding, right? You buy a house, and you typically don't buy a house for a long time, or ever. And it's the same with the wedding. And yet, every single year, she sends us really nice Christmas cookies. She has bought us concert tickets to go see local shows, and she just bought our family, again, we bought our house 2 years ago, she just bought our family a 4-pack of tickets to Disney on Ice. Why is she doing this? It's because she's thinking about the client experience. And you know what happens every time we get something in the mail or hand delivered to us? My wife posts about it. My wife posts to all of our friends, look how great our realtor is. And if you don't think that is, worth its weight in gold, then you're crazy. So our realtor wasn't just looking at selling us a house as a transaction, but as building a relationship. And that is the key difference here. So let's move on to families. With families, if you are a shoot and burn photographer, you are offering, very transactional, 40 minutes of time, 10 edited images on a DVD, $49. Whatever it is. It's very clear, laid out. This is what you get, no more, no less. If you want it, take it. If not, see you later. But as a boutique family photographer, what you're doing is that you are having repeated phone calls with the family, learning about the family, finding out why they want family photos, talking about what they will do with their family photos, discovering the dynamic and the personalities of the children to deliver personalized photos that capture more than just what a family looks like, but who they truly are. What would you rather have? Maybe you have children who are out of the house. Would you rather have a photo just of your child? We all have school photos. Or would you want a photo that really captures their personality as to who they were as a 5-year-old, as a 6-year-old, so that when they grow up, you don't lose those memories. You look at them and then you're taken back to that moment because there were so many high touch points that it felt like a collaboration between you and the photographer to create something that your family is going to love forever. Now, I know that you're going to pick boutique because that's what everybody wants, but it's the price. The price is obviously more, but that is the difference. And you would expect to pay more than just $49 for that service. Now, I tried thinking about how landscape photos would work, and this is pretty much what I came up with, right? Like, now that we are in this digital era, a lot of people sell their photos online. And, as a shoot and burn landscape photographer, you're probably going to go out and you're just going to shoot on your own, right? You're going to shoot what it is that you like, and then you're going to come back, upload those photos after you edit them, of course, like to your website, and sell them for like $4.99 a download. People can use them for their wallpaper or, on their phones, whatever it is. But now this probably gets into the commercial realm of things, but still, when it's commercial, there's a lot more attention to detail being paid. But what you would do is you would learn what it is that your client wants and what they will be doing, again, with that photo. And maybe you have an archive of images, and then you can then make a recommendation for your client based off of their needs, because they told you where the photo was going to go. It's going to go, in an office. On the opposite side of a big window. It's right at the entrance. It has to make a big statement. Or it's going to go in their home, in an office space, a library, whatever it is. You know where the photo is going. You're going to know what that room looks like. You're going to know what else is around so that you can make sure that colors don't clash. You're going to frame and you're going to mount that print for a client. Now, I hope that you're noticing a theme here. And that theme is time and attention. There's a documentary that came out recently on Netflix called Bill's Brain. I think that's what it's called. And it's a documentary about Bill Gates and kind of how his brain works, as told by a documentary filmmaker. And what I found interesting was that he asked Bill Gates' assistant, or maybe scheduler, I apologize if I get that wrong, and if she's listening right now, hey, but again, I'm sorry. The interviewer asked, is Bill Gates ever late to a meeting? And she said, no, never. He's always on time. This man is one of the richest men in the entire world, but he knows that you cannot buy time. So therefore, to him, time is everything. And when you give your clients that time, when you give them the attention and your time, they will notice it. Now, shoot and burn photography is not inherently bad. In fact, I think that it is the right choice for many photographers. We kind of live in this time where it's cool to be an entrepreneur. It's cool to hustle. It's cool to own your own business. But for some people, You have to be honest with yourself. And for some people, it's, running a business just isn't for you. And if you just want to make money shooting, maybe shoot and burn is right for you. But let's talk about how you choose what is the right decision for yourself. So what it comes down to, most importantly, is that you need to know your strengths and weaknesses, right? So know your strengths. What does that mean? Well, me personally, not that great with numbers. I'm not that great at planning. But if you're really great with numbers, if you're really great with planning things for the future, if you're really good with taking a big idea and turning it into something unique and special, maybe the boutique option is the right one for you. If you're really good with technicals and less good with people, well, that's another thing I'm bad at is words here. But if you're better with the technicals than you are with dealing with people, if dealing with people doesn't bring you a lot of joy, at least as much as photography does, maybe shoot and burn is right for you. But writing down what it is that your strengths are and what your weaknesses are will really help give you an idea of the business that you want to build. So the next part of how to choose is envision the future. Imagine tonight, you go to bed and you wake up 5 years from now, right? It's like that movie Click or whatever, where he just like fast forwards his life and the end is like super depressing. But imagine that you wake up 5 years from now and guess what? You have the photography business of your dreams. Just take an hour, sit down and write out what that looks like. What does that look like? Do you want a studio or do you want to work from home? Do you want several photographers under you or do you just want to travel? What is it that you want? Do you want to manage people? Would you even be good at that? Again, when you envision the future and what your dream photography business would be, it's going to be easier to work backwards from. So that is a great, just a fun mental exercise right there to be doing. Do you want to shoot all day and spend more time with your photos than you do your clients? Next is that you got to think about the sales process. And I know that sales seems like a 4-letter word, and technically sell is, but this process is not sales, especially if you are a boutique business. Now, when you think of going to McDonald's, right, or a fast food restaurant, it is very transactional. I want this, I will give you this, done. When you think about, just the idea of a chef putting together like a meal that he prepares in front of you based off of, questions that you had to answer about, what it is that you like to eat and why you like these things. Suddenly it's not transactional. It's like a community right there. You're building something together and it doesn't just feel like you're being sold to. It feels like somebody is custom making something for you and that you're paying for that experience, of course, but you're much more happy to pay for that personalized experience than you are just by going to a fast food restaurant. So when you think about sales, think about the sales process. How do you want it to go? Do you just want somebody to, send you an email, say, I want to book this wedding, and then that's it. They pay you the money, you show up, and then you're done. There's nothing afterwards. Or, you just hand over those digital files and then you're done, and then you can get back to your family. Or would you like to invite them in to talk about the photos, share what photos you love, talk about what photos they love, where they could put those photos in their home to make it just maximize the experience for them and what those photos would look like. What is it that you want to do? Because suddenly that second one doesn't feel so much like being sold to. It sounds like you're just pushing forward that experience. And then lastly, you also have to think about advertising. How do you want to be advertising? Do you want to be working with Facebook ads and printing out flyers, going to trade shows or bridal fairs, that can be pretty costly? Or would you rather get to know and be connected with other local small businesses? Do you want to get connected with local charities? Do you want to be involved in community events? Because when you go to these places, you're going to meet a lot of people who are interested in the same thing. And if you're there and you can deliver what it is that they're looking for, they're going to choose you every single time, without having to worry about, Facebook analytics and, what was the frequency of this and the click-through rate of that and all these things. So when you know yourself, you can build the right business for you. That's really what I'm trying to get at here. Now, what's important to know is that you don't have to choose one and be locked in forever. Many photographers, myself included, start as a shoot and burn photographer and then grow, right? Grow into something more. Grow all the way up into boutique. If you can think of a million ways to start doing that. You don't have to say, oh, I'm shoot and burn, so that's what my clients expect, and then, just call it a day. If you want to grow, you can start sending happy anniversary cards and thank you notes to your clients. You can start inviting your clients in to help them pick out the perfect wardrobe for their shoot. You can talk to your clients about what they will do with their photos and then help them plan that. These are ways that you can increase not only your authority, but your presence and build that experience for them. Now, whatever you choose is good, and it's just a good place to start, right? Whatever you choose, just choose something and start moving forward. Because the next most important element to being successful as a photographer is your pricing. Pricing is so much more than just a number. It can be a status symbol. It can be an invitation. It can be, everything that you need to know about the quality of a product or service. Now, unfortunately, so often I see photographers just choose a number out of thin air with no regard to how pricing will affect not only their business, but also their stress level. And I was there. I started this way too. I get it. I didn't know what to charge, so I looked at what other photographers around me were charging, and that got me into more trouble than it did me good. What I mean by that is that I would see other photographers charging, $49 for a portrait session, so that's what I did. And then I would spend 4 or 5 hours editing the photos, and then they would come back and say, can you make my daughter not look like she has a runny nose when she in fact has a runny nose? Then I would take it into Photoshop and spend more time, and it just was not working. Established photographers know why they charge what they charge. And in fact, I'm going to share this right now, I still shoot sessions for $49. But the difference is that's a promotion, and there is stipulations to it, right? Maybe you get one photo, and the point is to get them in the door so that if they like the photos, they can purchase more if they want. But to have a photo shoot with me, and maybe, again, it's a limited amount of time, is $49. So here is a great example where established photographers know why they charge what they charge. They know their numbers, they know their costs, and they know how much time they spend on a shoot. They know what they need to make. So if I'm shooting a session for $49, I know that it can't be a one-off. I can't just be like, oh, I have one session today, it was $49. I'm going to drive an hour to get to the state park. I'm going to photograph it for an hour. I'm going to drive back an hour. There's 3 hours right there. I'm going to spend, 3 hours editing all the photos to make them look perfect, bring them into Photoshop, do all this great stuff, and then deliver a great experience after the fact. I can't do that. That $49 is not going to make me any money. So what I will do instead is that I will shoot 3 in a row that day. I'll just shoot them back to back to back. I will schedule them that way. And maybe they're only 30 minutes. Maybe they're 45 minutes. Regardless, doing it that way, now I've just saved 4 or 5 hours of travel time out of my schedule, right? That I can focus on shooting. I get home. I do a quick edit on the photos before sending them to the couple or the clients, the family. They look at the photos, decide either which one they want, and then that's it, if they don't like all the photos, or if they want to purchase more photos, they can. And I know my pricing enough to know that if they make a purchase, I've now become profitable. So that's like a loss leader, if that makes sense. You can give them a session for a discounted price in the hopes that they will, like your services and want to purchase more. And again, if you deliver a great client experience, you now have their information and can update them in the future of other promotions going on. So if a brand new photographer would see that I, a professional photographer, was shooting sessions for $49 and they started doing that, and then they were just doing it one at a time, and then they would spend 4 or 5 hours editing, and then they would take it into Photoshop to spend another hour or two before delivering all the photos and then getting feedback that, they don't like certain photos, that's a whole lot less money that they are bringing in for the amount of time that they spent. So after you pull a number, out of thin air as a new photographer, and you realize that it's not working, and that's if you, really want to make some money with your camera, you need to be smarter about what you charge. And that is when photographers move to the cost plus model. And this feels good as a photographer because now it seems like you have a plan for your business. But the cost plus model will once again do you much more harm than good. Here's why. If you're unaware, the cost plus business model, it kind of works like this. So a client wants to buy a print from you from their last session. You have a lab print your photos. That lab charges you $2.50 for that print. Now the cost plus model would simply say, take the cost of your print, $2.50, and then add X amount percentage to make a profit. Now usually, if you're just getting started, this is like 200% if you're just starting out. So in the end, you're charging more money than what you paid for the print. So you're making money, right? Yes. Awesome. So what's the problem? The problem with cost plus is that you are not factoring in your time. So let's move on to weddings. Let's say that you charge $1,000 to shoot a 10-hour wedding, right? And that's it, shoot and burn, show up, shoot, come back, put the photos on a disc, deliver it, right? $1,000, 10 hours. That breaks down to $1,000 per hour, or $100 per hour of shooting. And we're not going to factor in the time here that it takes to edit because, there are so many ways to do it, and, you have to do it anyway, and it just changes depending on a number of factors. So we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to think about the editing or the shooting time here. So now let's say that you create a new package, right? It's the same 10 hours, but now you're going to include an album. Ooh. So that album is going to cost $200. So because of the cost plus model, you simply add 200% and charge $400 for it. So now you're charging $1,400 for a 10-hour day and an album. So $1,400 divided by 10, that's $140 an hour. Score. Wait, because that album is going to take you 4 hours for the initial design. It's going to take you an hour of email back and forth for approval from the client before an additional 2 hours of redesign and ordering. That is 7 additional hours to create that album. And the album costs you $200. So you make $1,200 for 17 hours of work. So that comes out to $70.58. And again, we're not factoring in the time for editing or what the government is going to take in taxes. So again, how are you charging more but making less money? That is because the cost plus model does not factor in your time. Now, if you're just a weekend warrior and you just want to make a few extra dollars on the weekends, then cost plus will probably be fine for your needs. But if you want photography to be sustainably full-time and deliver that full-time income, then you need to stop using the cost plus model to price your photography. If you really want to make money with your camera, you need to know how to price your work, your products, and your services. And that is why I have created a live online workshop that I want to invite you to called Picture Perfect Pricing. Now, this is a high-power 2-hour training where I will walk you through the exact step-by-step strategy that I use to profitably price your photography. Now, it doesn't matter if you shoot weddings or portraits, seniors, family photos, newborns, whatever it is, this 2-hour live course will work for you. I'll be honest, trying to make money with photography can be hard, especially if you have kids and a full-time job. You try to do your research as much as you can online, but when it comes to pricing photography, there are just so many, conflicting ideas, just information all over the board. But you know that charging $100 per session isn't cutting it. And you know that just picking a number out of thin air isn't going to do it. And you know that the cost plus model is going to make you go broke and be overwhelmed. The overwhelm is real. And I get it because I have been there. And that's why I am confident that getting your pricing right will alleviate so much stress and just set you on the path to making a full-time income with your camera a reality. But hey, you may be thinking, but Raymond, I'm still a total newbie. Should I be focusing on my pricing right now? Or maybe you're thinking, I live in a small town where people don't have money for photography. Or you're asking yourself the dreaded question, what if no one books me because my prices are too high? First off, I want you to take a deep breath. Because not only are these pesky mindset blocks all signs that you belong inside of this training, they're also signs that you can seriously benefit from the power of having pricing that you are confident in. Now, in this 2-hour live online workshop course, I will teach you not only how to price your photography, but do it profitably no matter what you shoot or where you live. Now, how are we going to do this together? It's pretty easy. I use my simple plug-and-play pricing calculator. Now, you'll be able to download this calculator for your online use if you want to use it in Google Sheets, or even print it out and enter the numbers manually if you're more of a pen and paper planner. I can be both sometimes. I like using everything online because it's convenient, but also there's nothing more satisfying than writing numbers out on paper and seeing, actual numbers. But my point is that to make it as a professional photographer, you need to know the two things. And that is how to use your camera, of course, and how to accurately price your products and services. Because sales are the lifeblood of a business. Let me say that again. Sales are the lifeblood of a business, of any business. Because without sales, your business will fail. And that is why I get so sad when I see photographers just pull pricing out of thin air and have no clue why they charge what they charge. So no more. In Picture Perfect Pricing, I'm going to walk you through step by step how to profitably price your photography for your location and what you shoot. Because the price of a wedding is very different than the price of a family photo session. I'm going to show you how to double your sales with a simple technique that businesses use on you every single day, and you probably don't realize it. It's that effective. I'm also going to give you the roadmap on how to increase your prices over time so that you don't lose the clients that you may have now. And I'm going to give you the answer to 3 common objections that you may get from potential clients. We are also going to build your pricing and your packages together, and then you're going to put them into my plug-and-play pricing template, giving you everything that you need to send potential clients your profitable pricing immediately. And then, yes, there's more. I feel so cheesy saying that. We will wrap up with a live Q&A where I will answer all of your pricing questions. Now, this workshop is going to take place live on November 14th at 6 p.m. Eastern, but it is also going to be recorded. Just in case that you can't make it live, you will still have access to it. And if you sign up, you are also not only going to get a 2-hour live training where you're going to walk away with pricing that you're confident in, a brand new pricing PDF that you can send to clients right away, the answer to your most common pricing objections, all for just $57, by the way. But I'm also going to give you my brand new ebook, Book Your First Paid Client, where I'm going to walk you through these steps to book your first clients with your new pricing. Because what good is Picture Perfect Pricing if you don't have any clients? So if you want to learn more, just head over to learn.beginnerphotographypodcast.com to find the Picture Perfect Pricing live workshop where you can sign up and enroll immediately. And again, the training is going to be live on November 14th at 6 p.m. Eastern and will be recorded if you cannot make it live. And if you enroll in the course, I'm also going to include that bonus, book your first paid client. A lot of great stuff. And again, all for just $57. Now, before I let you go, let's recap for you the different business models and what they mean, just so that we can, again, tie it all together so that you have a solid understanding of what it is that we talked about today. With shoot and burn, you will be spending more time behind the camera, but making less money for the time spent behind the camera. The focus as a shoot and burn photographer is turnaround time. You shoot as much as possible, so spending as little time as possible on each session is necessary. Once again, you are selling your time for dollars. Now, the boutique model has a focus on the client, what the client wants, what the client needs, and then you use your expertise to create an incredible experience to deliver exactly what they're looking for, no matter the time and resources involved. You're no longer selling your time, you're selling your art. And again, these are not the only two options. These are simply the polar opposites. And you are ultimately in control of your business. And you can create exactly what it is that you want. You don't have to just shoot and deliver, a shoot. But you also don't have to spend an entire week consulting just for a 60-minute shoot. You can stretch these to fit your needs and create the business that you have always dreamed of. Take that 1 hour to sit down and daydream about the future. Like, what is the perfect photography business going to look like for you? All right, that is it for this week. I want to hear from you. What business model do you think is right for you and your photography business? I want you to share it in the Beginner Photography Podcast Facebook group so that we can talk about it. And if you got any questions, ask there as well. All right. So until next week, I want you to get out. I want you to keep shooting. I want you to stay safe. And I want you to focus on yourself. All right. That's it. I love you all.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, please leave us a review in iTunes or your favorite podcast player. And continue the conversation with Raymond and other listeners of the podcast by joining the Beginner Photography Podcast Facebook group today. Thank you. We'll see you again next week.